did you notice something strange about your last Shein order?
Like, I took it out the bag and I'm like, what's that smell?
Stinking. Like rotten fish.
As for the cause behind this stench, well, when it comes to Shein, there's seemingly always a disturbing truth. What if we told you purchasing from Shein doesn't just come with the risk of low quality?
Government press releases have alerted buyers about hazardous substances found in products from these sites, leading to a wave of inquiries.
But that you're also risking your life.
So I just received a package from Shein that contained a vial of human blood.
Let's start with Shein's most noticeable warning signs, the ones that are right in front of you. At least, that's how easy it was for one TikTok user who saw something deeply wrong with her Shein order. Kenzie had ordered a bikini from the brand, but when it arrived, she found that it was stained with what appeared to be blood. She captioned the TikTok, "Shein, thank you so much for these period-stained bikini bottoms, and all they could offer is a return for my trauma." But aside from the discovery being traumatic, what did this stain reveal about the fast fashion giant? Well, if the stain really was blood, the obvious theory was the item had already been used and returned. But many believe this wasn't the case, and there are two big reasons. One is that swimwear should not be returned at all according to Shein's own return policy. And two, products such as swimwear and underwear shouldn't be resold to prevent risks to customers' health and safety. So, either they broke their own rules and resold used clothing, or that blood allegedly wasn't period blood, possibly coming from in-house. Well, if it was the first option, an investigation into Shein's practices suggested that this wouldn't be the first time that the brand had broken their own rules. The non-profit publication Rest of the World found that Shein may have been reselling returned items without properly disclosing it. To learn what happens to returned products, the non-profit bought tops and dresses from Shein, attached air tags to track the items, and returned them to a warehouse in New Jersey. The clothes stayed there for 2 weeks until they were sent to residential addresses. These were the last known locations before the air tags' pings disappeared. When a spokesperson from Shein was asked whether the returned items were being resold, they reportedly did not give a direct answer and even denied that they have a warehouse in New Jersey. Instead, they allegedly said, many returned items that cannot be restocked are donated to local charities. But this wasn't the only incident that hinted at a lack of quality control.
Everyone says to order from Shein, but they don't talk about the shit that you get like this. Someone explain to me what this is. Someone explain to me.
No, open it.
Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up.
Yes, the TikTok user received her Shein order covered in a white substance. As for what it was, well, while commenters threw out theories that it could be mold, a melted piece of paper, or some sort of cry for help from the children at the factory, no one knew for sure. And that was the trouble, because considering Shein's alleged track record, there was no telling what the customer could have been exposed to. According to one Reddit user, it wasn't a stain or a mold that alerted them that something was wrong with their Shein order, but a scent. When the user took the lace cami top she ordered out of the bag, she found that it smelled like bitter plastic. She didn't try it on because it was too small. However, she claimed that when she accidentally touched her mouth and licked her lips, her mouth dried out and her tongue began to burn. She wrote, "It tasted very bitter and pungent like chemical armpits. Now my neck and tongue veins look dark. It's hard and hurts whenever it's humid outside. And I have a really bad sore under my tongue for over 2 months now." The Reddit user claimed she went to a doctor who couldn't confirm what chemical was in the cami top. All that she allegedly learned is that the symptoms could point to lead poisoning and that her kidneys are now damaged. She wrote a review of the product on Shein's website to warn other users of her experience, but for unknown reasons, her 1-star review was allegedly never published. Only 5-star reviews were shown. Did the review violate Shein's policies, or did they purposely hide the review from the public? Well, according to Shein, the decision to remove a review is ultimately up to their risk control department, who claim to have reasonable and proportionate measures to prevent fake reviews and make sure that the reviews are genuine and reflect the experience of real consumers. So did Shein believe the Reddit user's experience was made up, or was the brand trying to cover up a more disturbing truth? Strangely, just as the review disappeared, so did the Reddit post, along with the entire subreddit r/Shein_. However, the user was able to repost her story on another subreddit, r/Shein, where one commenter suggested, "I've seen that some people will give 5 stars and then state the reality just so the reviews will show. You can try that." Yes, if the Reddit user had been poisoned with lead, it was important for other Shein shoppers to see her story and know the risks. After all, while her purchase wasn't tested for lead, others have been, and the results are shocking. In September, a mother posted to the subreddit r/new parents, claiming that her son had tested positive for lead. her local health department reported that one of the sources could be clothes from Shein and Temu. And this was news to one parent who commented, "I decided before my baby was born that I wouldn't dress her in Shein because I was worried about chemicals. I never considered lead." But unfortunately, after an investigation by CBC Marketplace confirmed the presence of lead in certain Shein products, this is something parents now have to consider.
So this little red purse should not be allowed.
Miriam Diamond says it's not just the smell, it's toxic. This is Health Canada's limit for lead in children's products. Our little red purse is 5 times more than that limit.
Lead has been especially deadly to children throughout history since no amount of it in their blood is safe. However, for a long time, lead was widely used.
It was in the air we breathed, literally. It was in the soil that kids played in. It was on the walls that children lived in.
It took a century to learn that lead is toxic, and still today, families unknowingly live in homes covered in lead-based paint and other materials. So what actions have been taken to protect us? Well, many authorities have chosen the wait-and-see approach.
In other words, we've waited for children to develop lead poisoning before investigating and remediating its source. And we're still doing that.
This is why it's important that everyone, especially parents, know whether or not their homes and the clothes that they use are safe. But aside from toxic chemicals, do customers have something else to worry about when it comes to what might be hiding in or crawling out of their Shein packages?
Dear Shein, I have a problem.
TikTok user See the Glow had received a package from Shein the previous day, full of vacation outfits that she began trying on. Yes, everything appeared perfectly fine until the next day.
I open the bag to this beach cover-up and what do I find? A bug. Do y'all see that? I know you see that. What is that, Shein? I'm scared. What am I supposed to do? Alright, I'm about to pick it up. I'm so scared.
One viewer suggested it could be a June bug, but the TikTok uploader claimed that it didn't look like it was from the US, and further clarified that the package was sealed, so she doesn't believe that it could have just flown in. In the end, the TikToker was allegedly refunded for the item with a bug on it, but not the whole order. And while this incident happened back in 2021, it doesn't seem like Shein fixed the issue. Since this TikTok, there have been more reports of live bugs in Shein packages, what appeared to be spider eggs in a ring, and even live worms. That's right, according to TikTok user EmmaCode3, these critters fell onto her feet when ripping open a package. Based on a reverse image search by the New York Post, they seem to be giant mealworms, which are often used by zoos and pet owners to feed spiders, lizards, and scorpions. The incident horrified the TikTok user, whose video went viral. She vowed to never order from the company again and reached out to them for a refund. But in this case, it wasn't as easy. "I have contacted Shein. They unfortunately told me in emails it's not their fault and they aren't liable. They won't give me my money back at all, which sucks," Emma told The Sun. On the other hand, a spokesperson from Shein claimed that when they received the customer's inquiry, they immediately launched an investigation, the results of which indicated that when the package completed their quality control process and left their facility, it contained only the Shein items ordered. Shein also claimed that they offered the TikTok user a full refund. However, the reports of shoppers finding creepy crawlies in Shein packages hasn't stopped. In fact, just a month later, another horror story surfaced online.
Just took these joggers out, gave them a waft to, spread them out, and this falls out. It is very dead and very flat.
Amy Jowett, the woman in the video, was especially upset since a month before she received the order, there had been another case of a critter allegedly arriving in a Shein order. But unlike the cockroach, this one was alive and venomous.
The Chinese fashion giant Shein says it is investigating after a University of Bristol student said she discovered a live scorpion in a parcel from the firm.
According to Sophia Alonso Mossinger, when she saw the scorpion crawling inside the order, she thought she must have been dreaming. And while nobody was harmed, according to experts, the incident could have been deadly.
A specialist animal charity later collected it, adding its sting would have been medically significant and potentially life-threatening.
Yet it seems Shein shoppers have adapted to these horror stories, developing their own strategies to avoid any venomous encounters. These approaches including checking everything thoroughly before opening, beating packages with a fly swatter, and even stomping orders with their feet. But where are these bugs coming from? Shein stated they investigated both the cockroach and scorpion incident, but they haven't explained how either happened. Animal enthusiasts on Reddit, however, have done their own sleuthing. According to one user, the species of scorpion appeared to be an Oliviaris martensii, also known as the Chinese scorpion. Obviously, these scorpions are native to China, the base of Shein's operations. However, since these bugs can enter packages by chewing through them, it's difficult to pinpoint whether the scorpion came from a warehouse or one of the trucks during transportation. But were bugs the only unadvertised extra Shein customers had to fear? Or were there other spine-chilling discoveries to be made in these packages? After opening her package from Shein, TikTok user Anna Marie took to the internet to share her haul, which started out ordinary.
It contained a couple dresses that I ordered,
and then became stranger.
And at the bottom of the package, there was a dented can of Mexican beans.
And stranger.
And there was a vial of human blood.
Yes, you heard that right. A vial of human blood. At first, Anna Marie thought she was being pranked, but quickly realized the potential sinister intentions behind placing a can of beans in a package with a glass vial that could contain an infectious bloodborne illness.
So we're all kind of wondering, was the bean can there to break the vial and expose me to something? I don't know.
She decided to report the incident to anyone who could investigate.
So I contacted local authorities who took the blood off my hands and who were supposed to log it as evidence. I called the CDC and reported it. I called the local health department and reported it.
Anna Marie also reached out to the lab where the vial came from and was told that the vial was completely mishandled, as their vials are only supposed to go to medical establishments and doctors. Meanwhile, Anna Marie claimed Shein initially ignored her case. However, when she started commenting on their Instagram page and making videos on TikTok and Instagram, a representative from Shein finally contacted her and reported her findings.
She said they looked back through all the factory footage. They saw the girl packaging my order. No incident. She puts it in the FedEx package, it goes out. So she could be lying, I don't know.
After a few days, the lab reached out to inform Anna Marie that the vial was for a cancer screening. However, when it came to how the vial got in her package, the lab had no idea. FedEx, on the other hand, had a hunch. According to Anna Marie, the company acknowledged that when packages are opened, workers tend to guess where the items came from and can get it wrong. But since there was no evidence of how the blood vial went into her package full of clothes, many were still alarmed. A lawyer even suggested that she could make a case against these companies, especially if the blood had an infectious disease.
I think she would have a good case against Shein, the medical company, maybe even FedEx. I hope that this is a one-off thing and we don't start seeing a trend of blood vials showing up in people's Shein packages.
Even if this was a strange mix-up, that doesn't explain this next creepy case. TikToker Bandana14 was trying on overalls she bought from Shein when she noticed a hard lump in the fabric.
I'm so scared right now, so I'm minding my business right now.
Hidden in her overalls, sewn shut, came a strange noise.
Y'all hear that? What the is that? It's from Shein.
So she cut open the overalls, only to find a device engraved with the text Chipolo.
Bro, what the What is this?
Upon a quick Google search, the TikToker identified the device as a Bluetooth tracker for keys. Naturally, this scared shoppers, and others alleged they noticed something odd with their Shein orders as well. I knew it, bruh. I told my ex how it's absolutely weird how I can have my Shein package sitting in the mailbox or outside my apartment for hours, but the moment I put it in my apartment, I get a delivered notification. This only raised more questions, as one person asked, what do they get from tracking you? Most of the theories pointed to an illegal trade. I don't know, what do traffickers get for trafficking humans? 40k to 60k is your answer. Follow her, snatch her up. Sex trafficking. Well, one healthy kidney is worth around 250k plus. Others weren't so skeptical, suggesting that Shein may have wanted to track the package, especially to avoid false reports of missing items. But if that was the reason, some argued it didn't make sense to hide the tracker by sewing it into the clothes. Then some pointed out that the Chipolo trackers have to be within 200 feet from the Chipolo app to see the location. So this meant it wasn't someone overseas tracking the customer, it had to be someone nearby. I feel you have a stalker. It's definitely someone nearby her that put that. But oddly enough, this couldn't exactly explain why other shoppers allegedly had the same experience. Now tell me why I was standing in the kitchen last night, no one's home, and I hear the same sound. I have some Halloween Shein items sitting in here from a party last weekend. I'm about to tear this house down. It's possible someone intercepted the package and strategically placed the tracker in the clothes. As for whether that someone is a trafficker, kidnapper, stalker, or just a crazy ex, it's unclear. It's also entirely possible the Chipolo tracker belonged to an employee who may have accidentally sewn it into the clothes. But the TikToker wasn't going to take any chances. After all, there was still a risk there could be a sinister motive behind the tracker, so she filed a police report. She further explained she still felt unsafe after the incident.
And like, I've been trying to lay low. My heart stopped when I realized I'm not even safe in my own home no more. Like, I'm not going to say too much for legal reasons, but that's where I'm at.
However, when it comes to the dangers allegedly lurking in Shein packages, some things aren't noticeable until it's too late. Many Shein customers have reported allergic reactions to various products, and it's not just about which type of fabrics were used, it's also about what chemicals were used to treat these fabrics.
Dispersed dyes are really the most common culprits, and they're at their highest levels in brand new unwashed clothes. They are typically used in synthetic clothing materials like polyester and nylon, which are commonly used in workout clothes. Sweating and friction can also cause that dye then to leach out and onto the skin.
When this happens, a person who is allergic to certain dispersed dyes will get a reaction from their skin.
Experts say that one of the most common reactions to those chemicals is a skin rash that appears a few days after exposure and can last for several weeks.
And if the person's tolerance is low, they might experience worse symptoms, such as swelling or blistering. But how bad can an allergic reaction really get? Well, according to one customer's experience, symptoms can become so severe a person can lose the function of one of their limbs. A TikTok user allegedly got chemical poisoning after using gold flakes from Shein for her nails.
Never seen anything like it. I couldn't wash it off. It just disappeared into my skin. Immediately, my hands went numb.
A woman named Sarah Holcomb revealed in a TikTok on her now private account. The next morning, she couldn't feel anything up to her elbow. She went to urgent care, who told her that it was chemical poisoning. And just when she was starting to feel better thanks to medication, her hands started to peel. Javon Ford, a cosmetic chemist who makes informative content about beauty products, explained what may have happened.
So that creator most likely has heavy metal poisoning as a result of using the gold flakes from Shein. According to the website, the gold flakes are actually made out of aluminum, which is pretty common because the price point is so low they can't use actual gold. But even still, aluminum should not cause stinging and numbing of the skin unless you have an allergy to it.
And then there was the possibility the reaction had been caused by undisclosed materials.
It's entirely possible that this product is contaminated with another heavy metal, be it nickel, cadmium, or even mercury. A lot of overseas products have mercury lingering in it.
Gold nail flakes, however, aren't the only Shein product that's been linked to unpleasant reactions. Others have reported experiencing breakouts after using makeup from Shein cosmetic company SheGlam and even hives.
So, I don't want to get sued by Shein or SheGlam, but here are some products that you might want to reconsider before you buy them because I broke out in hives.
And among all the products this TikTok user bought, there were 3 allegedly main culprits. The first being
this thing. It's the blush.
The second,
the other thing that I'm pretty sure that gave me like hives, it's the setting powder.
And the last, a lip product.
I literally broke out in hives again because I was like, it can't be all the products that I'm like allergic to.
Looking at its ingredients list for this product, it contains benzyl benzoate, which is considered to be a potential allergen. However, allergens and irritants are found everywhere, not just in cheap products. This is why it is generally recommended to check the materials and ingredients of products. And here lies the problem with Shein. Unlike SheGlam, where the ingredients are indicated, on the Shein site, they're unlisted. The chemicals used to treat their clothes' fabrics and other materials mixed in products like the gold flakes are also not disclosed. Because of this, consumers are left in the dark, making every purchase a risk. But hives and allergic reactions aren't the only potential harms of chemically treated products. In fact, one of Shein's biggest red flags might just put your life at risk. And it's there, right under customers' noses. What are we talking about? Well, online there have been reports of packages that reek of smoke.
I've just got this jumper from Shein. I've tried it on already and it stinks of cigarette smoke.
First time ordering from Shein, and did this happen to anybody else? The jeans I ordered have this weird smell to them. I don't know why.
Or perhaps the most notorious of all, fish.
So I've been hearing people been having problems with Shein, but this smell like fish at the bottom, right here. Like I took it out the bag and I'm like, what's that smell? And I don't know who put it on and returned it, but this is disgusting.
In fact, this TikTok user's order smelled so similar to fish that it seemingly sparked someone's appetite.
My dog is literally chewing up the part that smells like fish. This is to prove to this smell like fish. Okay, this is her sniffing that, y'all.
Yet however bizarre this scent might seem, it was so common in purchase of faux leather and the purses from Shein that you could simply refer to it as that smell and people would know what you were talking about. And what they didn't know was what to do about it.
How do y'all get rid of that fish smell? Because y'all know them Shein bags stink.
For example, when a TikTok user named Pamela was faced with this same issue after she purchased boots from Shein.
Look beautiful, stinking, like rotten fish. Disgusting. Biowarfare, if you ask me.
Soaking the boots in a bath with cleaning products and hanging them out to dry did nothing. So she tried a TikTok hack, placing the boots in a bag of vinegar and baking soda overnight and then hosing them off. As for the results, well...
I'm going to give them a bit of a sniff test. Oh, nope. Didn't work. If I go back to Shein with these, I will be deducted $4.50 postage.
And it seems smelly products from Shein are so common they have even added a smell description option when leaving reviews on products. But what was causing the infamous smell?
That new smell or fishy smell that you sometimes experience when you buy new clothing is because a lot of pleather and synthetic material products are treated with a ton of chemicals, including dyes like this. These dyes can absolutely contribute to that smell, and they're actually even banned in the EU, but they are still commonly used in fast fashion clothing produced in other parts of the world.
Sound familiar? These are the dyes that are known to be allergens, and not only do they contribute to that smell, but they are also considered to be carcinogens and are banned in the EU. Then again, dye isn't the only cancer-causing agent found in clothing.
Y'all, this is another one. Formaldehyde is on our clothing. Sometimes that smell on synthetic clothing is also because products have been finished with formaldehyde, which, yes, is a known carcinogen.
But what other toxic chemicals was Shein supposedly hiding? An investigation by CBC Marketplace on Shein and other fast fashion brands revealed alarming finds. One of the products the team tested came with the same pungent smell reported on TikTok.
It came and it smelled awful. This one was
smelled awful.
The bag also contained a familiar culprit, lead.
Would you want her to be wearing this every day, playing with this every day?
No, not at all.
But unlike the almost immediate effects of allergens, the heavy metals, phthalates, and PFAs that CBC found in Shein's items may have effects that may not be noticeable until later on, when it's already too late.
It's not like I was exposed to a poison and then in the next couple of hours I get really sick. It's not that kind of an immediate connection. Maybe you were exposed as a fetus, and maybe the manifestation is an alteration to the male reproductive system, decrease in IQ level.
Overall, CBC found that 1 in 5 products from fashion brands such as Shein, AliExpress, and Zaful contained harmful ingredients. But of course, this investigation was published back in 2021. Was it possible Shein's practices had changed since then? In September of 2024, Arirang News, an international broadcasting station based in South Korea, reported on the government's attempts to investigate how safe or harmful products from Chinese e-commerce platforms are.
This is the Seoul Electronic Commerce Center, where reports from South Korean consumers buying items on Chinese platforms like Temu and AliExpress are surging, not just due to increased usage, but also growing safety concerns. Materials are cut, liquefied, and analyzed using a spectrometer to determine their composition.
The Seoul government then publishes its findings weekly. Based on the results, the government alerted buyers about the disturbing amounts of hazardous substances from the products on e-commerce sites.
1 in 10 items from Chinese e-commerce sites have been found to fail safety standards, and unsafe products are removed from sale.
The South Korean public has been sending a wave of inquiries on the products they have also bought. However, when it comes to the rest of the world, well, people either remain unaware or unbothered. After all, there are people who have purchased fast fashion throughout their lives without experiencing any problems, yet. This, of course, contributes to a false sense of safety, but the effects have always been there. Breathing problems, rashes, and even death from chemicals have been the reality for the textile workers who are making these clothes. And with fast fashion just becoming the norm, it's only a matter of time before researchers learn how much exposure consumers can take before being significantly affected by these products. After all, it's not just Shein or other e-commerce site that the public has to worry about. companies all over the world produce products with harmful amounts of chemicals. But because these brands do not disclose the chemicals and materials that they use, researchers find the lack of data to be extremely concerning. Dr. Kirsten Overdahl, an environmental health research scientist, told The Guardian, "There are often thousands of chemicals in a sample that can't be matched to a known chemical. That's absolutely terrifying. This doesn't mean that every chemical is bad. Maybe it's harmless. But if we can't match a name to a chemical structure, it means that the data is not out there. So you can't say it's not safe, but you also can't say it is safe. This is why, instead of buying from other sites with cheap products or sanitizing packages with pungent scents, experts advise avoiding buying not just from Shein, but also from its competitors."
Y'all do not buy cosmetics from Shein or Alibaba because there is no regulatory oversight into what goes in those products. Amazon either. Y'all be safe out here.
But what can people do when their go-to brands are no longer safe? Dr. Aaron Carter, a rheumatologist, suggested trying alternative brands instead.
Now, the fast fashion industry is problematic for so many reasons, including high levels of pollution, toxic waste, exploitation of its workers, and now we're finding that these clothing articles and these other products that they make can be harmful to us as well. Now, luckily, there are many brands out there that are focused on sustainability and ethically treating their employees. And as consumers, we have power again to vote with our dollar.
However, for many, the question isn't where can they shop now, but who was still buying from Shein in the first place. Online, there's clearly a divide. For many, supporting Shein comes down to one thing: money.
There's been a lot of controversy around Shein, but to be honest with you, that is quite literally all that I can afford. I know a lot of my friends, we are poor. Like, we are young, we are broke, we don't have good jobs yet. Like, that's all we can afford.
Others have brought up that sustainable shopping isn't always accessible, size inclusive, or maintainable given that so many retailers source their products from the same unethical factories. As a result, people who are against Shein have been labeled as elitist. However, others have pointed out that it isn't poor shaming to call out people who seemingly spend their full paychecks at Shein.
I said that people who were paying like top dollar, aka $50, $100+ $300 for stuff that was actually coming from Shein, that when they found out that all of this stuff was actually wholesale from Shein, that they shouldn't go right to the source. Those people can afford to shop sustainably. If you weren't paying those prices for stuff that was actually from Shein, this video was not about you.
Other advocates have highlighted that if this is an issue of classism, customers aren't the ones at the bottom of the pecking order.
Anyway, the real classism in the Shein fast fashion discussion is when y'all repeatedly center the feelings and closets and convenience of poor people in the global north over the actual lives and well-beings of poor people in the global south, specifically the garment workers who are responsible for making those garments, who are poorer than any Shein consumer.
But if shoppers know this, why do they continue to buy from Shein? According to psychologists, it is difficult to prioritize ethics when consumers are being manipulated by marketeers. Fast fashion was designed to trap consumers in a vicious cycle of buying affordable clothes to get a short burst of happiness that eventually plummets due to the poor quality of these items. But is it possible to break this cycle? If you're watching this video, you've already made the first step, which is to be aware. Yes, simply knowing how fast fashion hooks people and then harms them can be enough to put the power back in consumers' hands. And according to experts, public awareness is already on the rise.
The education level is getting higher, the demands for reporting are getting more, and they are going to hit up against that.
In 2023, it was reported that Shein lost a third of its market value, dropping from a business valued at $100 billion to $64 billion. Analysts believe this is because of Gen Z's growing awareness of fast fashion's pitfalls. And as we previously mentioned, the South Korean government has begun investigating the negative effects of fast fashion and taken action following outcry from the general public.
I think legislators will step up and make the rules necessary, but that takes people's participation.
Yet that remains the biggest challenge, convincing people that fast fashion does more harm than good.
How do you bring those people in a way that's actually engaging and non-judgmental?
To start, it's more important to come from a place of understanding and realize even small moves towards more sustainable shopping is a big deal.
We can't force everybody to completely opt out of their purchasing habits because not everyone can afford to do so. But it's important that we in the global north at least try. There's power in numbers, and the more of us that stand up against an incredibly harmful system, the more likely it is to fall, or at least change in some meaningful way.
And rather than guilting people into shopping sustainably, give them tips that align with their lifestyle, whether that's supporting local boutiques that engage in sustainable practices, hitting charity or thrift shops that fit their budget, or researching ethical brands.
One of the best tools for finding sustainable and ethical fashion brands is a blog and app known as goodonyou.eco. They vet individual fashion brands based on their sustainability, ethics, and treatment of their workers. You can look up individual brands in the search engine on the website.
But be careful. Because brands are taking note of the demand for more sustainable options and their game plan isn't to rethink their practices, it's to make it look like they are. That's right. Through introducing recycling programs for clothes you don't want anymore or using eco-friendly materials, retailers are engaging in a practice known as greenwashing to make their businesses look sustainable while still profiting from overconsumption.
The problem is that too much clothing is produced and bought, whether the clothing is eco-friendly or not.
Yet, as netizens continue to call these brands out and draw attention to inhumane practices, a more sustainable future might just be on the horizon. After all, the success of a retailer depends on the public and what they're willing to accept. And if there's one thing most people won't accept, it's unethical work conditions. Yes, there's more to this conversation than just the alleged toxic chemicals, dangerous insects, and the potentially finicky review system. Shein has also been investigated by Channel 4, who used a hidden camera to expose their allegedly unethical business practices, which have people wondering if these creepy notes have anything to do with it. We have a full video about that here discussing just how that went down, and it's just as disturbing.